really isn't really like in a formal setting. Obviously, we're all together via Zoom, but we're really just gonna have a discussion as a council. We encourage you guys to join in too in the chat, just about staying motivated during canceled season number 2.
Yeah, so we know that many teams are really doing things very differently. This year, we're probably going to see the most diversity across the board in terms of what teams are putting together. So we've sort of compiled a list of some ideas that we think you might be able to do with your teams, or things that we've heard that some teams are doing, and hopefully they'll be helpful to you. I know that my team is really involved with FLL mentoring, and this year we're trying to do the same. So we're tuning in on a virtual platform similar to the one we're using today, and talking to FLL kids about the different skills that the program usually develops. So we're teaching them how to code on EV3 Lego Mindstorms, and we're also talking to them about the innovation project. So that might be something that might work well with your school. Even if an FLL team isn't established, you could always create sort of an after-school call with some younger children and go over these concepts.
Which I think ties in really well to focusing on skills. There's a picture of Julia there with the drill, so she might talk a little bit about that, even though it isn't quite possible to focus on skills in person with a team anymore. I think it's still probably beneficial for if you can get together with your team and maybe CAD a thing, like something very simple, or teach programming, like very basic programming, program a thing. If you have access to your robot, maybe like make a little auto and play it for everyone via live stream or something like that. Something simple to keep yourself like motivated during these times.
Yeah, definitely. That picture was taken during last year's build season, and that was when we were trying to install the motors to our robot. It was quite difficult because it was our first time using swerve motors, swerve drive. We actually ended up winning the innovation in design, I think, for that, which was really interesting, and it kind of showed that all of our hard work paid off. So yeah, definitely a good idea to work on skills, and if you can't meet up with teams, you can always do some at home, get some nice YouTube tutorials up. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's many
For sure.
ways to be a bit more creative this year, but there's still a lot of ways that we can continue to learn. So on this side, we've got some more ideas for keeping people motivated. Competition is always nice. It's nice to have, a little bit of friendly competition to push yourself to improve. We'd recommend little design competitions within your team. Just because your team as a whole might not necessarily be competing against other teams doesn't mean that you can't have some friendly competition between each other.
Emiko, do you want to explain more about the next picture, innovation projects?
Sure. This is a picture of me, and it's actually a screenshot of a Zoom call, which is very relevant. So you can definitely the innovation project is part of sort of how FRC is looking this year. So that's definitely a great way to still get involved with FRC. And even if you didn't want to do it directly through the program, that's definitely a project that you can work on in a virtual environment, just like you see in this picture. That's something that you can collaborate on in a call very easily, just having that discussion with each other and doing the research on your own, meeting and catching up on it, and then going off and sort of working on those separate pieces. That's we think that the innovation project is a really great way for you to still get involved this year.
I have to say, I love the pictures, by the way.
Yes, for sure.
I can talk about personal project because that is one of my personal projects right there. So I think something that's really important to keep doing during the times where there's so many unknowns is just keep doing what you love. So that is one of my personal projects right there. I really like drawing. I'm sure maybe many of you have seen my artwork on Instagram at FRC Doodles, but one time I went to the beach and I found a piece of charcoal on a rock. So that's what I did. I drew a picture on a rock. The point of that is, I think it's really important to continue doing what you love. Including drawing on a rock. Find new ways to do what you love.
And this is one of those sort of great opportunities, I think, for show and tell in terms of within teams. Even as the youth council, we're always learning new things about each other at all of our meetings. We kind of can bring something to a meeting and show it, like Victoria might show us some of her drawings. And I would definitely encourage teams to try to incorporate those more personal elements into practices, because we are all sort of holistic people outside of being in robotics, and it can really strengthen a team to learn those types of things about each other.
Sure. So the next one is mentorship and team wellness. Emiko, do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Well, it's a really tough time right now for many people. I think that's not really a secret. And being in a team environment is, I think, really important because it gives you that community to have some support during this time. So focusing on mentorship and team wellness right now is really important, making sure that everyone on your team is sort of doing okay and having those check-ins. I think being on an FRC or FTC team is sort of gives you a really safe space and environment to be real about how you're feeling. So this is definitely a really important time to continue to check in with your team and stay engaged, stay involved, and make sure everyone's kind of getting through this together. So on that line, go ahead.
That's okay. Go for it.
On that line of wellness, we've compiled some resources for you to recommend to your team or read yourself that will help you say sort of uplift you, give you strategies to move forward with your team. These are two books that we would highly recommend: The Power of Habit and Braiding Sweetgrass. The Power of Habit is really interesting. It's sort of about the psychology behind habits and schedules and why we behave the way we do, essentially. And I think there's a lot of things in that book that you can pull to using within your team. Braiding Sweetgrass is about plants, and sort of it goes back to the land acknowledgement that we did at the beginning, sort of having a gratitude for the land that we live on, and returning, I guess, to those roots. Wow, pun unintended, but those are both really great books that we'd highly recommend. If you have any book suggestions, feel free to put them in the chat, and we can start that conversation.
So on this next slide, we have more ways to relax and de-stress, which you can totally do with your team, not together, obviously, like virtually via Zoom. I think you have movie nights. Does anyone have any movie recommendations?
I know up on the screen we have The Hate You Give, which I found was a really good movie, really touching. I don't know if anyone else has any other movie recommendations.
I know what I did. I watched last year's 2056 Ways to Inspire. I don't think that's a movie. Maybe watch that if you want.
Yeah, go on YouTube, watch some good old FRC reels.
Yeah, educational videos. Now would be a great time for that.
Yeah, we have lots of time I know in quarantine, we had lots of time to, educate ourselves on different topics. So lots of new educational movies out there.
And I think Emiko, you're really into number puzzles and crosswords. Am I right?
Yes. I love puzzles, and especially number puzzles, like you said, like Sudoku, Ken. And those are great crosswords too, though I'm not very good at them. Those are also really nice ways to get your brain involved and also relax at the same time. If you wanted to incorporate that into your team, or Victoria, you could probably put up like, puzzle competitions and things. There's definitely ways we can get creative to still keep the team together and cohesive while also branching out into areas that might not be directly related to robotics.
Yeah, puzzles are a great way to de-stress. Also, you can definitely host team game nights via Zoom. That's what my team does. So currently we aren't doing any of the other things that we've mentioned because there are just so many unknowns for us. So what do? We just pull up Pictionary. We play that for a couple hours and we have a great time. I think it's really good to check in on everyone else and make sure they're doing well during this time. So it's just really funny. It's awesome. Honestly, Scriblio, it's online Pictionary. It's just a really great time. It's really funny. I can definitely recommend online Pictionary.
Oh, yes. And I know Youth Council had a little game night to get to know each other when we first started meeting, and that was lots of fun. We did code names. Yeah.
Names is really fun.
And with the get to know you, I think you bring up a really good point, Julia, because especially this year, at least for our team, we had a lot of grade 9s who were really excited to join and get involved. And now we're not really able to meet them face to face. It's a little bit tough, but having these sorts of game nights, more relaxed, like social Zoom calls or what have you, is a nice way to meet those new team members, sort of get them involved in the team, and then you can start bringing in those skill videos and skill improvement tasks after you get to know each other a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember last year when we were still able to meet in person, we did a bowling night with our team, which was really fun, and that's how we got to get to know each other, and it was just lots of fun.
I definitely think it's important to still keep that tradition alive. Just, don't do it together. Please obey all the laws.
Yeah.
Oh, we've come to a break. Stretch break.
It is. Yes, it's time for a quick stretch, washroom, water, late lunch, whatever you need to do right now. Take that time to get a little break from your screen. Maybe go outside and take a breath of fresh air. The conference has been going on for a while and it's very interesting, but it's also good to sort of rest your eyes for a little bit every once in a while. So.
Yeah.
Make sure to put your ideas in the chat if you have any ways that you de-stress personally.
Yeah.
Make sure to share them with us because we would love to hear them. That's kind of our next topic after the break.
Yeah. So we'll be back at 1:50. And until then, take some time for yourself.